Okay, so we haven't covered rules for identifiers. So let's talk about the rules for identifiers firstly. So once that is done, we'll get into comments. So what are comments? So what are the purpose of comments and how it will be useful for the programmers? Okay, and later on we'll move on to Java coding conventions, and after that we'll cover operators. Operators, right? Okay, so now, right. So what are the rules that we need to follow for writing identifiers? Okay, so we know what are identifiers, right? Name given to a variable, class, or method. So if you are giving any name for identifying a class or a method or a variable, so that we call it as an identifier, right? So we have seen one, we have taken one class and we try to print some, we have written some, we have created some variables and we have given some names and we tried identifying what are the identifiers that are there in that class, right? So any name given to a class or variable or a method inside the Java program, we call it as an identifier. Now, what are the rules that we need to follow in writing the identifiers? So the first rule is identifier must contain characters only. Okay, so which characters it has to contain? So when I say characters, even numbers will also come as characters, right? So what should be contained within that particular characters? Okay, let's try to understand that. So what should be their identifiers? Identifiers what? Must contain characters only. Okay. So what are those characters? And again in the characters means what? Everything comes under characters, right? A to Z, 0 to 9, and other all symbols. So among these again, which can be treated as character and which you can use for writing an identifier? Can I use any all the characters that are available, or is there any certain rule that we need to use only these characters out of all the characters? Yes, there are certain characters that are available for using them. We cannot use all the characters. Okay, so identifiers must contain characters only. Okay, from character set. So you know what is a character set, right? ASCII character set, unique character set, right? Unicode character set like that. So what are that we need to use? You can use small z to small a to small z, capital A to capital Z, and you can use from 0 to 9. And when it comes to symbols, you can only use dollar symbol and underscore symbol. So in symbols, while writing identifier or within the identifier, what are the symbols that you can use? Only two. You cannot use all the symbols that are available, like at the rate, okay, if you have slash, if you have plus, minus, okay, into, and power symbol, ash symbol, you cannot use any of these symbols. Okay, among symbols, what you can use only dollar and underscore. So you must use only these characters. Identifier must contain characters only from character set A to Z, capital A to Z, 0 to 9, and dollar underscore. Only these characters should be used in using or writing a identifier. So that is the first rule. So what is the second rule we have? Identifier must not begin with any digit, but it can begin with either alphabets or dollar or underscore. What is it? Identifier must not start, must not start with. So you know what is a digit? 0 to 9. So we call them as digits. So identifier must not start with any digit. Okay, but it can begin with what? It can begin with either alphabet, okay, or you can use dollar symbol, or you can use underscore symbol, okay, and it must not be any value. Okay, so basically identifier must not start with any digit, but it can start with what? Either alphabet or dollar or underscore. Like let's say I'm trying to write an identifier. Okay, I'm trying to write an identifier. So in the previous class, what is that I have used for defining our class? I have used a name for our class is nothing but var demo, right? Variables demo, right? So I have used this name. So let's say if I want to give a name to a class name is what? Is an identifier, right? So can I write my class name in this way instead of writing this way? Can I write like this? 0 or otherwise let me say 9 var demo. So according to second rule, if I write if I write a digit and if I try to write my name of the class, so is it a valid one or it is not a valid one? Anyone? According to second rule, if I try to start the variable name, so identifier name with a digit, is it valid or it is not valid?
That's not valid, sir.
Yeah. So which means that writing a identifier with the digits, if you start a identifier name with the digit, then it is wrong. So what you can start with, you can use a dollar symbol, or you can use an underscore symbol, or if you want, you can use any character, sorry, any characters A to Z or capital A to Z. Okay, so all these are correct, but you cannot use digit. But let's say in the first line, what I'm trying to say, you can use characters like A to Z, 0 to 9, dollar, and underscore. I'm saying that I can use digit, but you cannot use it digit in starting the identifier, but you can use digits afterwards. From the start, afterwards, if you want to use, you can use them. Like let's say I want to write var demo 9. Is it a valid one? Valid identifier, or it is not a valid identifier? If I
Valid.
use a digit, yes, this is valid. You can use digit afterwards, but it should not start with a digit. I can use var 9 demo. This is also correct. Right? Understood? That is what the second line is saying about. Okay, so that is the second rule. So what is the third rule? 1 minute, please. So what is the third rule means? It must not be any Java keyword. What? Identifier name must not be any Java keyword. So we know what are keywords, right? Keywords are special words which are having a predefined meaning and they are given by Java. Okay, Java people has given us some predefined words and those words are called as keywords and their meaning is already defined to the JVM by Java people. Okay, so those are called as keywords. Now there are above 50 plus in Java. There are keywords around among 50 plus in Java, right? So all these, any of these keywords, we have not seen that list. What are the 50 keywords? Okay, so I'll show you as we go on. I'll try to introduce you the keywords and I'll show you all the keywords that are available in Java. So afterwards you'll understand that. Okay, when you're naming, okay, when you're using identifier name for class or variable or method, always remember that if you think that that name is a keyword, then you should not use for writing it for identifier. Okay, don't use it for the sake of identifier. Okay, so now let's say you know one keyword. Let's say there is a keyword called as class. We all know, right? There is a keyword called as class, int, long. So all these are what? They are also called as keywords. So apart from saying int as a keyword, we can also call it as a data type. Right. Now, if can I use class? Can I use class keyword followed by class name as class? If I try to like this, what happens? Immediately, your compiler is going to throw a error. You cannot use name of the class as any keyword. You should not use a keyword in the class name in writing a identifier. Got it? So that's about the third rule. So what is the fourth one? So you can use when it comes to the length of the keyword, sorry, identifier. When it comes to, so now when it comes to length, so let's say if you take this one, how many characters we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what is the length of this? The length of this particular identifier is 9, right? Now, when it comes to length, what? So when it comes to length of the identifier, you can have a identifier with any number of characters. You can have as much length as it is you wanted to. Okay, if I want to write 256 characters of length you want to define a identifier name. Okay, you can go for it. No issues. But it is a recommendation now. So till now we spoke about rules, but this is not a rule, but this is a recommendation. What is the recommendation? Recommendation is always you should not exceed more than 16 characters. Try to give a name for an identifier which is not going to exceed what? 16 characters, more than 16 characters. If you try to give more than 16 characters also, your identifier name is going to be valid. Okay, but it's a recommendation, because if you try to write a bigger name, for you to access it or to spell it correctly, it is going to be a bit difficult, right? So if you write a long name for identifying and for accessing it, it will be very difficult. So readability will go away. Unnecessarily, you should be, so many maintenance issues will come. So that's the reason what it is recommended. It is recommended to not to exceed more than 16 characters. But when it comes to the rule, you can have as much as length you want. If you want to take a length of the identifier like 256 characters also, you are allowed to take. But don't take like, don't try to give a name in with using so many characters. Okay, try to keep it, okay, but till 16 characters. Don't go behind that. Okay, this is a recommendation now, not a rule. So what is it? Length can be anything. Okay, if you want to keep the length, whatever you want, you keep it. But it is what? It is recommended. It is recommended. It should not exceed what? Exceed how many characters? Should not exceed more than 16 cats. Okay, so that's a recommendation now. So now afterwards, what is the fifth one? So now it should be short and meaningful. What is it? It should be short and meaningful. What does that mean? Now let's say I have declared a variable. So I have declared a integer variable. Now what is the name I have given for this integer variable? What is the name, or what is the identifier? What is the identifier in this variable declaration? Can anyone tell me? What is the identifier in this declaration, in this variable declaration?
Var A.
Right. A is the identifier in this declaration. So what it should be? It should be short and it should be meaningful. So if you ask, is this not short? Yes, it is short. But is it meaningful? Means looking at that variable, you are able to say what it is doing or what it is holding. No, right. Now, instead of this, if I try to give a meaningful name to this, now, so looking at this, you will be able to tell what is this variable is holding or not. So looking at this, you will be able to tell, right? So tell me what is this variable is going to hold, which data it is going to hold. Looking at this identifier name now, can you tell me what this a variable is going to carry the value as? So what data?
H.
Yes, it is going to hold age. So is it meaningful or not? So it is giving you the meaning. When you are looking at it, it is giving you the meaning that saying, okay, now this variable is going to hold so and so type of data or so and so value. So give a short name, okay, and try not to exceed more than 16 characters, but try to keep it meaningful. As I told you, to keep it short, you should not use whatever that comes. Okay, don't try to give some other random names. Instead of, you should try to always give a meaningful name. Got it? So this is also what? This is also a recommendation, not a rule. Okay, this is recommend. You know what is the difference between a recommendation and rule, right? Rule means you need to compulsory, you need to follow. Recommendation means if you follow, you're going to benefit out of it. If you're not going to follow, also, it is not going to hurt you, but it may try to give you some other problems. Okay, so it may try some other problems. That's the reason. Also try to follow recommendations, right? So what else we have? So we can also use predefined class names or methods. So we can also use what? Predefined class names or method names as identifiers. But this is also not recommended. Now with Java, as I told you, So we in Java, we can have our own classes. We can write our own classes. So in our classes, if we wanted to do certain operations at that time, we need to take help of some other predefined classes. So Java also identified what are the different types of requirements that a programmer can have, or what he will encounter. So in writing a program, programmer might be needing few of the functionalities. So I thought that instead of programmer writing them or developing them, I will only write those classes and I will provide to the developer such that when he wants to use such type of code, instead of writing the class from beginning, he can use these classes. So whatever the classes that are coming from Java, we call them as what? Predefined classes. What are they? They are predefined classes. Whatever we write, we call them as user-defined classes. But the classes which are already written, and if you are trying to use them, we call such classes as predefined classes. And these are going to come from whom? Java people or any third-party people who are supporting Java. Understood? So what is that now? Now, if you wanted to have your identifier name as what? Any predefined class name. Yes, absolutely, you can use it. But what is the recommendation? Don't use it. So what is the recommendation? Try not to use predefined class names as identifier names. Okay, so we can use predefined predefined class names or method names. Okay, as what? As identifiers. So there is no harm in using predefined class names. So, but what it is? It is not recommended. Okay, it is not recommended. Understood? So these are three rules and three recommendations that we need to follow in what? In writing, in giving a identifier name. What? In giving a identifier name. So try to remember these and follow these things. Okay. So while defining a identifier, you should always follow these three rules and overall three recommendations. Overall, we have how many? 6. You need to follow this. So there are a couple of other recommendations and rules are also that we need to follow. But for now, try to remember these 6. Okay, we will see other things in the future classes. All right. Now with this, we are done with rules for writing identifiers. Now let's jump into comments. The next topic is comments. What are comments and what is the purpose of comments? How it will help a developer within the programming. So let's try to understand. So comments are used to explain the program and make the program more readable and understandable to a programmer, to other programmers, right? So what are comments? Comments are used to explain about the program and make the program more readable and understandable, right? So let me write it down. Comments are used to explain about the program. Okay. And make the program more readable and understandable. Okay. So for understanding this, let's try. There are categories of comments. Before going into that, I'll take one example. I'll take one class and I'll try to write a class, okay, with comments and without comments. So you can understand how a comment is helpful for other programmers. Now, comments are not for any end user. It is for programmer purpose. Okay. So in a project, there will be a lot of programmers who will be participating within the within the project, right? So there is no one developer who is going to develop the project. There will be group of people who will be participating. So one guy might write a code for one requirement, and other guy might have to work on the same code in the future, right? So when other programmer is going to work on a different programmer's coding, okay, previous coding. So what is that he has to do? First, he has to understand what that particular code is doing. Okay, so what he can do, he can go line by line and he can understand what is happening. So what's the problem with that approach is he might have to take more time in understanding the logic of other programmer, what he has written previously. So instead, if the previous programmer, if you have written some comments on that, like saying that, so the logic that I have written here is for so and so. Now this logic is going to do so and so, because understanding the program with logic is always going to take more time. Instead, a general English explaining about what that particular logic is doing will always help the other developer to understand the code more easily and more fastly. Okay, it gives the ability to read the code more easily and fastly. Understood? So this is the reason we use what? We use comments. Got it? So let me take a class here now. So I'll take a class called as calculator. I'll take a class called as calculator. Okay. So what this calculator class has to do is it has to do an operation, an addition operation, for which I'm trying to write an addition method here. So I don't want this method to return anything. That's why I'm using a return type as void here. I know that you people don't know what is a method. Okay. So what is this return type and what is this method name and all those things you might be not knowing. For now, just look at the method, how I'm trying to write it. I'll try to explain about what are methods, how to write methods, what are return types in the methods, okay, what a method can have, all these things in the future classes. For now, just understand that I have a method. The method name is add, and we call this as return type. We call this as what? We call this as return type. And we call this as what? Identifier, method name. You can call it as identifier or you can call it as method name. So I have a add method. So inside this add method, what I want to do is I want to just declare two variables and initialize them with some default values. So I have taken a variable called A and other variable called B, and I'm trying to pass a values to it. I'm trying to initialize values to those variables. Okay. And after that, what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to declare one more variable called C, and I'm trying to perform an operation here. What is the operation I'm trying to perform? Addition of these two variables, for which I'm using an operator called as plus. So we'll see about operators in a few minutes. Okay. So before that, let's try to understand this is what we do. So to add two numbers, what is the symbol I'm trying to use here? Plus. Okay. And I'm passing what? I'm passing two variables. Okay. A and B. So A is having 10 and B is having 20. Right. These two will get added. So 10 plus 20, that gets added, and this value is going to be stored in this variable called as C. Okay. So now, and lastly, what I want to do, I just wanted to print what is there in C, for which I'm using what? I'm using a statement called as system.out.println. Just I'm trying to print. Okay. So this is what the class, and I have a method, what it is doing. Okay. We just understood a class and what is, and inside the method, what we are trying to do. Okay. So we have just did what? I have declared a sorry, I have defined a method called add method. Inside that, I have taken total three variables, in which first two variables are holding some values. And on the third variable, I'm doing an operation and assigning the value out of that operation into C. And I'm third line and last line, I'm just printing that. So this is the overall operation that I have performed within this calculator class. Now in this, what is that missing here? What is it that is missing here? Anything is missing here? Nothing, right? Now let's say I have written this class and I have completed this class and I left. Okay, so there is one developer one, who has written this code. Okay, now I just felt that I want just not two numbers to get added. I want three numbers to get added. In the future, I got a requirement as this method is trying to add only two numbers. Instead, I wanted to add the third number. So this work is assigned to developer 2 in the future. So he has written and this guy got the requirement in August 2024. Now, once he goes to this class, he has to go check what is the class name, what is the method name. He has to go line by line. What he is trying to do, he has to understand it. Okay, he has to spend some time in understanding this method. Okay, and then he can go for writing the requirement that is given latestly. The latest requirement is that it should be adding one more variable. Instead of adding two variables, it has to add three variables. This is the requirement that has came up. So once he has to do all these steps, okay, he has to go line by line and he has to do it, means it is going to take some good amount of time from him. Instead, what is the best way to solve the problem for the future developers that I can perform within this particular calculator class? Is nothing but you can have comments on this particular class. Okay, you can what? You can have comments. So how to write the comments and what are the different types of comments we have? So we will see that. Okay, so now just remember this class in this way. So I'll show you again afterwards. Now before after that, let's try to cover the different types of comments, how to write a comment. Okay, what are the different types of comments we have, how to write them, and once we are able to understand the comments and everything, the purpose of the comments, then we'll try to write the same class with comments. Right, now let's move on. Now talking about comments. Okay, so we told that what is a comment? Comment is all about explaining the program, explaining about the program. Okay, making the program for understand. So for making the program more readable and understandable, we write comments. Now, when it comes to this section, so we can write any number of comments and we can write those comments anywhere in the Java program. So when we talk about the program structure of a Java, so the structure of a program, Java program, so what is that we have understood? We spoke about package statements, we spoke about import statements, we spoke about class, we spoke about methods, all those things, right? So as I told you, in that particular structure, some of them can be repeated and some of them has to come at certain place only. They cannot be coming whatever the place, wherever it wants to. Okay, it should not come wherever it wants to. It has to come and in an appropriate place for certain number of times only. In the similar way, if you're trying to have comments within the Java program, so how many times these comments can come? Okay, how many times comments can be repeated within the class? So you can write any number of comments and you can write them wherever you want inside the program. Understood? So we can write any number of comments and anywhere inside the program. I didn't say inside the class, but I'm saying inside the program. Inside program, you know, right? What is the program? What is the class? So inside the program, I'm saying. So inside the program, how many classes you can have? You can have any number of classes. In a similar way, inside the program, you can have comments. So where they should be coming, it can come anywhere in the program. It shouldn't be that it should limit to saying that it has to come only within the class. It has to come only once, or it has to come within the this section only. I'm not restricting it. So you can use them any number of times anywhere in the program. Okay. So that is the third. That is sorry. That is second thing that about the comment. So what is the third one? Comments are non-executable statements. This is very important. What is it? Comments are non-executable statements. So when if you write a comment and if when you're when you're asking your compiler or JVM to execute your Java program, at that time, anytime if Java or your compiler, when it has encountered these comments, it is not going to execute that line. It is just going to skip that line. So comments are what? Comments are non-executable statements. Comments are non-executable statement means they will not get executed by your JVM. JVM will ignore these statements. If it finds a comment, then that is going to be ignored by the JVM. So that's the third point. So what are the other points we have? So in Java, so in Java we have basically three types of comments. How many comments we have in Java? We have three types of comments. Okay, so what are they? The first thing we call it as single line comment. What is the first one? Single line comment. So what a single line comment means? If we want to write comment in one line, then we have to go for this particular single line comment. What is it? If we want to write comments in one line. Okay, so then we need to go for what? Single line comment. Okay, so what is the syntax? What is the syntax that you need to use in writing a single line comment? That is nothing but two forward slashes. What are they? Two forward slashes followed by your comment. Okay, so this is the symbol. This is the symbol which you have to use, and you can write your comment, and it has to be written only what? In a single line. Okay, it should not move to other line. It has to finish. The statement has to start same line and it has to end in the same line. So if you have a comment which is going to be in the single line, such type of comments are called as single line comments. Okay, so what is the next category we have? In total three types. So we have seen single line. So what is the next we have? We have multi-line comments. We have what? We have multi-line comments. Okay, so if we want to write comments in more than one line, then we have to go for multi-line comment. What is it? If we want to write comments, if we want to write comments in more than one line, we need to go for what? We need to go for multi-line comments. Got it? So what is the syntax? So what is the syntax that we need to use in defining multi-line comments? Is nothing but forward slash star. Okay, you can have your comments. You can have your comments and end with star and forward slash again. Okay, you can have any number of statements between these two. So if you try to write in this style, then it is called as multi-line comments. Okay, so and lastly we have document comments. Lastly we have document comments. So the last one is what? Document comments. The comments that are used to create separate document which contain information about the program in detail. What is it? What are document comments? Document comments are the comments which are used to create a separate document which contains information about the program in detail. So if you want to know the detailness of a program, so I have written a program. Now I wanted to know the detailness of the program. If you want to know the detailness of the program, then we have to go for document comments. So there should be a separate document that has to be created and the information writing document comments. Okay. So this is used for used let's say used to create a separate document. If you want to create a separate document which contains information about the program in detail. Okay, so then we go for writing document comments. So I want a separate document, okay, out of these comments. So, and that information, that document in that document should contain the information which should be talking about in detail. So it should talk about in detail about the program. So every detail has to be explained in that particular comments. So if you want such type of comments, then you have to go for writing document comments. So what is the syntax? Syntax is nothing but rule. So what is a rule or the signature that I have to use in writing? In writing this particular document comment is nothing but if you use, let's use a forward slash and 2 stars, and you can write any number of lines and end with star and forward slash. Okay, so this is the way of writing the document comment. You understood right now? So in Java, what is a comment? Comment is used for the purpose of what? It is used for the purpose of explaining the code. Okay, so if you want to explain the code, so then we have to go for comments. So what are the different types of comments we have? We have totally 3 types of comments. First one, if you want to write a comment in single line, okay, so then we have to go for single line. If you want to write the comments in multiple lines, then we have to go for multi-line. So if you want in detail comments, then we have to go for document comment. Got it? So, and comments are what? Comments are non-executable statements. So when Java encounters these statements, Java is going to ignore these statements. It is not going to execute those statements. Now, right? Now the sales try to write comments and after the comments, see, I should be spending in order to plus calculator. Okay, and this is having a method called as void add method. Now I just wanted to explain this method. So as I told you, I can write comments anywhere, right? So the first comment I'm trying to write is above the class. And what is the comment I'm trying to use here? I'm trying to use a single line comment. Okay, so what is, I want the comment to be in single line. So then which comment I have to use? I need to use single line comment. So what is the syntax? What is the way I have to use the single line comment? 2 forward slashes. So what I'm saying, this class is responsible for performing mathematical operations. Sorry, instead of mathematical, I'll say arithmetic operations. Okay, so arithmetic operations, let me say OP. So I have written the whole sentence in single line. So now what is it I have written? So this class is responsible for performing arithmetic operations. So this calculator class will do what? No, just by reading that line, the other programmer, when he wants to rework on this class, when he comes and if you want to try to understand this class, instead of looking at the code of the class, he can just read this comment, what is written here. So this class is responsible for performing arithmetic operations. So you can understand what are arithmetic operations. What are arithmetic operations? Addition, multiplication, division, right? Subtraction, all these falls under arithmetic operations. So, okay, there are methods which are going to support performing these operations in this class. This is what he will be immediately able to understand, right? You no need to take more time instead of looking at the code and trying to understand what is written there. Just by reading this statement, you'll be able to easily understand what this class is doing. In the similar way, here I'm trying to write another comment. So this should be also single line. So what is it I'm trying to say? This method performs addition operation. Okay. Now, by looking at this comment, it is easy to understand what is there in this method. Okay, he is trying to perform addition operation. So I'll try to make this statement more clear. Okay, I wanted to make this comment more clear. So this method perform addition operation on two operands or two values. Okay, so I'm clearly detailing mentioning that. So this method performs addition operation on two values. Now, if he is able to understand, if he's going to read this message, the other programmer in the future, if he's going to read this message, he understands that no, okay. So there is a addition method which is currently doing operation on two values. Now it has to do operation on how many values? Three values. Now you will understand, and if it goes inside this method. Now inside this method, what I have one variable called integer a with value 10. I have another variable named a, b with value 20. So on these things also, I'm trying to write some comment here. Okay. But instead of that, I'm trying to write instead of writing the comment in one line, I'm trying to write the comment in multiple lines. So how to write it? I need to use multi-line comment. So what is it I'm trying to say? Uh, declared two variables, or instead of saying declare, I say created two variables. Okay, for for performing addition, and variable names are a and b, and close the comment. Okay. So now reading this line, you'll understand that, oh, this guy has created two variables, and those two variables he has named as A and B. Okay, immediately you'll understand, right? Okay, so there are two variables A and B. Now to perform to add the third, just I need to declare one more variable. Okay, so he has already given the names as what? A and B. Simply what he will do, he will try to define one more variable. What he will do, he will say int C is equal to 30. Now, or otherwise he will say int D is equal to 30. Now, what is the last thing I'm trying to do here? I'm declaring one more variable which is called as C, and I'm saying A plus B plus C. Okay. So here also, if I want to write any comment, you can write the comment. You can use single line comment or you can use double line comment. Got it? So and lastly, I can write here also one more comment. Saying what? Saying value of value of C is printed. Okay, so understand this particular this statement is doing. Got it? Instead of understanding what this code is, if you read the comment, you'll understand what this statement is going to do. Got it? So like this, and just finish the program. Now see the difference between previous program and this program. So previously, to understand the program, what I did, I have to go each line by line. I have to go everywhere, and I have to understand what is that program is doing. Of course, you have a readability here, but still, what is that? What is that you have to do additionally? You have to take more time in understanding this class. Now, look at these comments. Just will come here. You'll try to write this, read this first line. So this class is responsible for performing arithmetic operations. The here itself it gives half of the meaning of what is this class, what is that class is doing, and later on what is doing. He has explained about the program method also, saying that this is taking two values and it is doing addition operation. Now this is the method I'm looking for. I'll go inside. What is it I'm trying to do? Oh, it has created two variables with name A and B. Okay, now I want another variable to be created and I want to do the addition operation on three variables. Let me do it and let me see. So what is that lastly I want to do? Oh, he's using some statement here. What is the statement? This statement is going to print something on the console. Oh, this statement is also is going to print something on the console. So it is easy for him to understand. It will take less time as it is readable and understandable. Understood, guys? So that is about comments. So what are comments? Comments are used for the purpose of explaining the code to the other programmers so that the readability and understandability of the program increases. So there are three types of comments. Before that, comments are what? Comments are non-executable statements. Whenever JVM encounters them, it is not going to execute them. So it is going to what? Ignore them. And what are the different types of comments we have? We have three types of comments. What are they? Single line, multi-line, and documented comments. What is single line? If you want a comment to be written in one line, single line, then go single line comments. So the syntax is two double forward slashes. Okay, and we have multi-line comments. So when you have to go for multi-line, if you think that your comment, when you're writing a comment that can go for multiple lines, more than one line, then you have to go for using multi-line comments. So what is the way we have to write it? Using a forward slash with star and end it with star and followed by forward slash, and or whatever that you wanted to write in between these two. Okay, and lastly we have document comment. Is nothing but if you want to separately create a document and everything has to be in detail explained about the program means, go for using documented comments, for which what is the syntax we want to use? Is nothing but forward slash with two star symbols and write whatever the things what you wanted to document, okay, in detail, and then just close it using star and one forward slash. Got it? So that is about comments and why do we use comments, and uh yeah, why to use comments and where to use comments, okay, and whether they are executable or not. So is it understandable, guys? Is it clear till here? And you have any doubts or any questions on these comments? If is it clear, I can go to the next stage. I mean, I can go to the next topic. Clear, right, everyone?
Yes, sir,
Anyone
all
is having
clear.
any questions? No, right? Cool, yes. Okay. If you have any questions also, you can post me afterwards. No issues. No, next, let's move on to the next topic. What is the time? Okay. So we have 10 minutes, right? Okay, let me quickly finish coding conventions. So the next topic is Java coding conventions. So in Java, what is that happening is, in Java we have predefined classes, right? So in Java we have predefined classes, predefined methods, predefined variables, right? And keywords, all those things. We have something that is coming from Java, when I say predefined means which is coming from Java or any third party that is supporting Java. Okay, so from Java language, we are getting classes, predefined methods, and predefined variables. Okay, so as they have written them, when they have written that, so they used some conventions. Convention means some, let's say rules, some conventions and nothing but some rules they have used in writing their names. In writing a class name, they followed a signature. Instead of saying rule, let me say signature. They use some signature here. So how the class name has to be written, how the method name has to be written, how the variable name should be written. So they use some conventions. Okay, so they use some signature or some style in writing them. Okay, so if we are also following the same conventions in writing the class names, variable names, and method names, then it will be easy for us in understanding the libraries, in understanding other people classes. So by just looking at the class name, or so let's say we have different types of identifiers. Now, if I go and if I try to catch an identifier, and if I have to say whether this identifier is a variable or if it is a method or if it is a class, you need to see the declaration of it. Instead of that, just by looking at the identifier name, you should be in a position to identify it, whether it is a variable name or it could be a method name or it could be a class name. If there is such possibility, then you are going to have some advantage because of that, right? We'll have some advantages with that, right? Instead of every time looking at the syntax and trying to understand, oh, this is the class name, and this is the method name, and this is the variable name, just by the style in which we write it, if we can identify it, it will be easy for us, right? Instead of doing a lot of job, just doing a simple job is going to reduce us some efforts, right? So that will be the advantage that we are going to get with if we follow these conventions. Okay, so as Java people already they are following these coding conventions, so they are also recommending follow these coding conventions. Use the same coding conventions for our own classes, methods, and variables. Okay. So what is it? In Java, for all predefined classes, methods, variables. Okay. So Java is what? Java people already following some coding conventions. Okay. And Java is recommending what? Java is recommending us to follow same coding conventions. Same coding conventions. For what? For our for our own classes, methods, variables, etc. If there are something else, or for all rest of the rest of those also, we need to use those conventions. Okay. So what are the different conventions what Java is following is nothing but. So what is the convention that we need to use for a class? Okay. So let's see. So first one, let's talk about what is the coding convention. Coding convention for writing a class name. Okay, coding convention for class. What is the coding convention that we need to follow in writing a class name? So a class name can contain any number of words, but every word first letter should be in capital letter. Understood? What is the convention that we need to follow for writing a class name? So if you observe here, when I'm trying to write a class name previously for our variable demonstration, so what is that I did? I used this one and this one as capital letters. You see? So it is having multiple words. The name of this class is formed with multiple words. Where is one word and demo is one word. And if you notice, every word first is written in capital. Okay. So that is a coding convention that is followed by predefined classes. Okay. Can someone mute it? Hello? Can someone mention them? Okay. So what is the coding convention that we need to follow for class? A class name can contain any number of words. But what? But every word first letter should be what? I'm not using must here. I'm using should be. Should be in capital letter. Right? Understood? So let's take an example. So there is a class called as string. So in this string, what is the first letter is in which case it is going to be? It is going to be in capital case. Understood? And this is a predefined class, by the way. So, and there is another predefined class. And let's say the name of the class is string buffer. Okay. Now, if you see, it is formed with two words. And if you see the first starting letter of every word, it is in capital letter. Okay. So I'm taking one more class name. let's say input stream reader. So as I told you, your class name can contain any number of words, but every word first letter should be what? In capital case. So these are three words here. Every word first letter is what? In capital case. Okay. Now I want to write my own class name means I have to also follow the same name. If you see here, V and D, they are in capital case. Understood? And if you want to write any other class means like let's say student. So S should be what? S should be in capital case. You understood, right? The first one. What is the coding convention that we need to use for class? You understood, right, everyone? So it can be combination of any number of words. Every word first letter should be in capital case. Why we are doing this? Because Java people, they are using the same convention in writing the class names. So if we are also going to follow the same thing, it will be easy for us in identifying them. Okay. So how it is going to be really useful for us? Okay. Maybe may not be completely understandable or meaningful for you at this moment, but you will see the advantage of this in the future classes. Okay. Now with this, we understood what is the coding convention that we need to use for class. Okay. So we need to understand about interfaces. So what are interfaces and what is the coding convention we need to use for methods, for variables, for constants, for packages. Okay. For all these things, what are the different types of coding conventions that we need to follow? We'll see it in the tomorrow's class. Okay. I'm able to only cover one thing about classes. We should be covering a few more other things also. What are there in Java? So we'll cover them. And in these few of the things we may not be understanding. Okay. But still remember that because that when I cover that topic, you'll understand. Okay, you can take this coding convention and you can apply to that particular topic. All right, guys. So let's end this session today with this particular coding convention session. Okay, we'll continue this session tomorrow. So anyone is having any questions or any doubts now? You can ask me now. Anyone is having any doubt or any question? No, right? Shall we end the session?